Mr. Speaker, every minute 2 garbage trucks worth of plastic are dumped into the world's oceans. We have the longest coastline in the world. We just hosted the INC4 conference on and negotiations on plastic pollution. We know industrial waste is choking our coastline, making its way into our food and our vital ecosystems, impacting human health, Mr. Speaker. And the Liberals went ahead and they cancelled the Ghost Gear Fund, Mr. Speaker, a $58 million project, a world-leading project that we supported in this House. In fact, Mr. Speaker, you voted for my motion, M151, in 2018, to tackle plastic pollution, and that was clearly highlighted and identified. And I'm concerned that the government is now walking away from it, despite the fact that there's critical infrastructure in place, Mr. Speaker, and that this infrastructure is in jeopardy. It's going to impact organizations like Coastal Restoration Society, Ocean Legacy Foundation. They've removed 2,214 tons of plastic. They've helped leverage the Clean Coast, Clean Waters program out of the province of British Columbia, Mr. Speaker. We can't get an answer from this government whether they're going to reinstate the program. And we know polystyrene, if we don't remove it, it spreads throughout the ecosystem, impacts human health, like I said, the mammals, the fish, our food security, and the marine food webs that we rely on, and our economy as coastal people. I'm hoping we're going to get an answer today from the minister, since I dragged him here at 12:30 a.m. to talk about this critical issue. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Fisheries, Oceans and the Canadian Coast Guard.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and good morning and happy birthday as well. And I want to thank the member opposite for the question, but also I've gotten to see firsthand his work on behalf of his constituents, and they're very lucky to have him, in my opinion. Mr. Speaker, Canada is a proud maritime nation that relies on its oceans as a source of food, jobs, energy, raw materials, maritime trade, tourism, and recreation. Fisheries in Canada play a critical role in Indigenous and non-Indigenous communities, coastal communities, and are an important part of our economy. We are focused on sustainability and conservation, and we are proud of our robust and sustainable, managed and well-regulated commercial fisheries. Ghost gear impacts are long-lasting. It is a significant source of marine plastic pollution, which can have a devastating impact on marine mammals and aquatic ecosystems. It has the potential to break down into other forms of pollution, as you just mentioned, such as microplastics, other type of serious navigational hazards. Our changing climate and extreme weather events are a major contributor to this great loss. This was evident, Mr. Speaker, in my neck of the woods during Hurricane Fiona. Coastal communities were majorly impacted by ghost gear as a result of the storm. The Government of Canada recognizes the threat that ghost gear poses in Canada and around the world and has taken action. And in 2018, Canada became a member and leader in the Global Ghost Gear Initiative. And in 2019, Fisheries and Oceans Canada established the National Ghost Gear Program. The program is focused on working with partners and stakeholders in Canada and around the world to prevent, retrieve, and responsibly dispose of ghost gear. Now, since 2019, Mr. Speaker, Fisheries Oceans Canada has worked with partners and stakeholders to implement a legal requirement in all commercial fisheries to report lost fishing gear and created an electronic fishing gear reporting system, in fact, to help harvesters easily report lost and retrieved gear. In 2020, the Department launched the Ghost Gear Fund to address 4 key ghost gear challenges. Number 1, retrieval of ghost gear from our oceans. Number 2, responsible disposal. Number 3, acquisition and piloting of new technology to address ghost gear. And number 4, international leadership. The fund focused on engaging and working with Indigenous partners and the fishing industry on solutions to this decade issue of ghost gear and lost gear. Through the fund, Canada distributed $58.3 million in support of 144 projects domestically and internationally. And the work of our partners and harvesters is impressive, with over 2,233 tons of ghost gear removed from Canada's waters and more than 858 kilometers of rope retrieved to date. Through the work undertaken by our dedicated partners, Mr. Speaker, we've reduced the threat of entrapment, ghost gear fishing, and the threat of entanglement to marine mammals, including endangered North Atlantic great whales. The Ghost Gear Fund has been critical in providing data needed to inform management measures to prevent gear loss in the first place. This is a key part of our ghost gear strategy for the future. We need to address any potential ghost gear threats, Mr. Speaker, to the marine environment, as well as establishing regulatory tools and policies designed to effectively prevent or mitigate the loss of gear in Canada. These essential pieces will feed into the Ghost Gear Action Plan, which will consider the role of climate change on fishing gear loss, and consider methods to strengthen a cyclical approach to plastics used in fishing gear and address regulatory impediments to facilitate lost gear retrieval, and seek to develop new tools, Mr. Speaker, to reduce the amount of gear lost in the Canadian fisheries. Through the Ghost Gear program, Mr. Speaker, Canada's commitment to addressing ghost gear into the future, demonstrating the leadership of Canadian fisheries and protecting our marine ecosystems and fisheries for generations to come.